This is Mr. Eugene, and the discussion today is about something happening quietly in homes across America and many other parts of the world. Something most people sense but few are willing to confront honestly. It is the story of men who walk away later in life, not in anger, not in scandal, not chasing youth or excitement. They walk away quietly, deliberately, and without looking back. From the outside, their lives look complete. Long marriages, stable careers, children raised and grown, homes paid for or nearly paid off. They did everything they were told a good man should do. And yet one day, often in their late 50s or early 60s, they pack a bag, leave the house, and begin a life alone. No affair is discovered. No dramatic fight is remembered. No clear explanation satisfies the people they leave behind. Their families are stunned. Their friends are confused. Their children feel abandoned. Everyone asks the same question: why now? What makes this moment so unsettling is that it is no longer rare. Divorce rates overall have declined, but among people over 50, they have risen sharply over the last few decades. For people over 65, they have nearly tripled. Researchers call it gray divorce, but numbers do not explain what is happening inside these men. Statistics cannot describe the quiet emotional collapse that precedes the decision. This is not a story about blame. It is a story about identity, exhaustion, silence, and time. It is about what happens when a man looks at the years ahead of him and realizes that the life he built no longer feels like his own. For many men, the journey toward walking away begins with the slow disappearance of self. Take the story of Mark, a man who spent more than 3 decades as a high-performing sales executive. His entire world revolved around his work. His friendships came from the office. His confidence came from closing deals. His sense of worth came from providing. At home, he was the man who paid the mortgage, funded the college accounts, and ensured stability. That was his role. That was how he understood himself. Then, within the same year, 2 things happened. His youngest child left for college, and he accepted an early retirement package. Suddenly, the structure that had defined his life vanished. He woke up with nowhere to be. No urgent calls, no meetings, no problems to solve. His wife still had her routines, her social circle, her commitments. He wandered through the house feeling invisible. What frightened him most was not boredom. It was the realization that he no longer knew who he was. He had no real hobbies. His friendships were transactional and tied to work. Without the roles of provider and daily father, his identity collapsed. Psychologists refer to this experience as identity dissolution. It is the moment when a man realizes that the roles he has played for decades no longer define him, yet nothing has replaced them. For generations, men were taught a simple equation: your value equals your usefulness. Your purpose equals your productivity. Career was not just work, it was identity. Then retirement arrives, often at the same time the house becomes quiet as children leave. The silence forces self-reflection, and what many men find is terrifying. The home no longer feels full of purpose. It feels like a museum dedicated to a version of themselves that no longer exists. The marriage, even if loving, becomes associated with that past identity. It reflects a life that feels finished. Walking away becomes less about rejecting a partner and more about escaping a life that feels like a costume. As identity fades, another force begins to dominate a man's thinking: exhaustion. After decades of marriage, many men no longer seek passion or excitement. They seek peace. Long marriages are rarely destroyed by a single argument. They erode through years of unresolved tension, quiet resentment, and constant negotiation. Small disagreements that never fully heal. Daily habits that become irritations. Patterns of criticism that harden into expectation. Over time, many couples fall into a familiar dynamic. One partner pushes for conversation, emotional processing, and repair. The other learns that engagement leads to conflict, stress, and emotional fatigue. Withdrawal becomes survival. Eventually, the emotional muscles required for deep conversation weaken. The relationship becomes logistical. Bills, schedules, obligations. Intimacy fades not because love disappears, but because effort feels dangerous. The home stops being a place of rest. It becomes a place where one must manage expectations. For men raised to value stoicism, reopening emotional wounds later in life feels overwhelming. The energy required to rebuild something that has been dormant for decades feels impossible. In contrast, the idea of being alone feels light. Not lonely, quiet, no negotiations, no corrections, no emotional pressure. Men who leave often describe falling in love with silence. They are not running towards something new. They are running away from constant emotional tension. Leaving is not an act of cruelty, it is surrender. Once a man experiences sustained peace, returning to emotional turbulence feels unbearable. For many men, this exhaustion is compounded by a realization about the structure of their marriage. Many long-term marriages were built on an unspoken contract. He would provide financially. She would manage the home and children. It was functional. It worked for its time. But what happens when the contract is complete? The house is paid for. The children are grown. The career ends. For men whose worth was tied to providing, the question becomes unavoidable. If my job is finished, what is my purpose here? If the marriage was built more on function than friendship, there may be little emotional foundation left. Modern financial independence lowers the barriers to separation, reinforcing the feeling that the provider role is obsolete. Some men do not know how to exist in the marriage without that role. Leaving feels like clocking out of a job that has ended, not angrily, not bitterly, just pragmatically. But the most painful reason men walk away is the one few talk about: loneliness. The loneliest place on earth is not being alone. It is being unseen while sharing a life with someone. Many men feel ignored, corrected, or dismissed for years. Over time, they stop sharing their thoughts, fears, and hopes. Silence becomes safety. When the children leave, the remaining silence becomes unbearable. The couple sits across from each other like strangers who happen to share history. Some men realize they feel more acknowledged by brief conversations with strangers than by the person they live with. That realization is devastating. Leaving becomes a way to escape emotional invisibility. From the outside, these men are often judged harshly. They are labeled selfish, weak, or cowardly. But when you listen closely, a different truth emerges. They did not leave for another woman. They left to find themselves. They left to meet the man they never had time to become. Time becomes loud in later life. The body ages. The calendar accelerates. Men begin to understand that their remaining years are limited. They are no longer willing to perform roles that feel empty. They are not chasing excitement. They are chasing authenticity. Men over 50 walk away for 4 core reasons: loss of identity when provider and father roles fade, exhaustion from decades of emotional strain, the quiet end of an unspoken marital contract, and the crushing loneliness of being invisible in one's own home. This is not a simple story of villains and victims. It is a reflection of how modern life reshapes identity, marriage, and meaning. We live longer now. We expect marriages to last 50 or 60 years. That is a challenge no previous generation faced. For the men who walk away, the decision is terrifying. But to them, it feels necessary. It is not about abandoning responsibility. It is about reclaiming selfhood. If this resonates with you, whether you are living it or watching someone you love go through it, your perspective matters. What do you believe finally pushes a man to walk away after decades? Share your thoughts in the comments. Your experience may help someone else feel less alone. If this discussion gave you clarity, like the video, share it, and subscribe for more honest conversations. This is Mr. Eugene. Thank you for watching.